The 2 years that I spent at Preston were, for me, two of the best years that I've had. I mean, living in a group of your mates and guys that you're playing football with and you spend time with every day, it's something that if you can't enjoy, then the likes of Jamie Proctor and Bailey Wright, I was fortunate enough to play with them. Bailey, I know, is still at Preston. He's playing very well, playing first team football, and I think, obviously, for me personally, that's what I'd like to be doing. But it's great to see people that you've played with doing so well, especially coming from the youth team and coming up into the first team. I think it's quite a difficult position to be in, especially at Preston. We're all living together as a big group, and I think when it gets to the point where they're making decisions about getting a professional contract or not getting a professional contract, it does hit you quite hard, especially as you're 17, 18. It's quite a big thing to take in one go. Going on to find a career after that, it can be quite tough and quite daunting. But no, I think my transition wasn't too difficult. I had quite a lot of support around me and a lot of guidance into finding a job and a career elsewhere. I think it's definitely important to concentrate on the education as well as the football. I mean, obviously, to play football as a career is something that everybody wants to do, or most young lads want to do, but I think it's important just to remember the fact that not everybody does make it, and unfortunately you may need a backup plan. It was a bit of a confusing time, I think, after finishing at Preston. Obviously, your whole life revolves around football and sports in general, so I think to find a career outside of sports is something that not necessarily everybody would do. Fortunately for me, I've essentially followed in my mother's footsteps. She's an accountant, and that's the path that I've chosen to go down now. For me, finding another apprenticeship to get some work experience as well as the education was quite important. Previous to getting a football scholarship at Preston, the thought of going to college full-time had already crossed my mind, and it was something that I was almost going to do. So accountancy was something that I always had as a backup. Obviously, with my mum already working in finance, it was something that seemed like a natural progression for me. I had looked at sports-related careers, being a physio and that kind of thing. Obviously, once you've had the exposure to it, it does start to spark interest in your mind. But for me personally, accountancy was always something that was going to be my natural progression. The general stereotype for a footballer isn't somebody that will sit in an office and sit there with spreadsheets looking at numbers all day, but I mean, each to their own. Personally, it's something that I've always found quite interesting, I suppose, and personally for me it's something that works, something that fits. So I think there are quite a lot of skills that you can pick up from playing football in general, and especially from doing a football apprenticeship. There are a lot of disciplinary skills that you pick up. Obviously technical skills are completely different, but the disciplinary skills and the mental skills that you pick up from football, I think are transferable into the working world, but I think that maybe some people don't see that and don't take full advantage of it. And I think taking advantage of the skills that you pick up is something that everybody should really try to keep in mind and do from a football apprenticeship. Obviously everybody wants to be able to play football as a career, but I think to be able to keep an open mind and know that that might not necessarily be the career that works out for you is something that, for me personally, helped me to be able to think about the skills that are transferable and how to use them to my advantage and get in a career. I joined as a finance apprentice. The general idea was that I was going to be shared as a shared resource around the department picking up knowledge from each different part of the department, 'cause with finance there are many different roles that everybody plays, which is why you can find quite large finance departments in each company. At the moment, I started to move towards management accountancy, which is where I want to be in 5 years, say, after qualifications. But as I say, at the moment I'm still just gathering knowledge from different parts of the department. I've got a 5-year plan, so I'm currently going through my AAT qualifications with one more to go. The plan for that is that I should have that done by the end of the calendar year. After that I'm looking to move on to SEMA, which potentially could take 3 to 4 years. So my aim is to be fully qualified by the age of 25, and I think it's important to have those goals set in the long-term plan. I suppose hindsight's a wonderful thing. I think looking back, maybe push myself harder, but I think at the time you always think you're pushing yourself as hard as you can, but while you're there you may only have one chance, and I think it's important just to make the most of it while you're there.